Hi, my name is Maria, and welcome to Blending at the Beginning, my free instructional YouTube channel, where I will be demonstrating a parent-friendly phonics and phonics blending program that you, yes, you can do with your child at home to strengthen their reading skills. And if you're new to my channel, a special welcome. And I encourage you to watch my Blending at the Beginning YouTube introduction so you can learn more about my easy-to-follow guided phonics program. And one important note, I've designed this program to be fun for your child. So please use your child's attention span as a benchmark and do not work beyond the attention, interest, or ability level of your child. And at the end of the video, I'll share some tips about learning sight words. All right, let's begin blending at the beginning with short I. Okay, this is the learning guide, and I've uploaded the pages for short I and review of short A, since that's what we'll be working on today. And for this program, you will need one color of consonant letters in one color, and vowels A and I in a different color. We put our consonants in one color and vowels in another. And you can just use sticky notes for your consonants and vowels. And one important note, the child must have mastery of their beginning consonant sounds to be successful in this program. Okay. All right, before we get started, you can review with your child that there are short and long vowels, and short vowels have their own sound and long vowels say their name. So here we have apple, we studied last week, A for apple. Today we're going to talk about igloo, I for igloo. So here we have our cards, short I for iguana, and long I for ice cream. We'll put that away because we'll be working on short I today. And let's begin with our song. I says I says the letter I can say it, the letter I can say it, I says I says All right, the first thing you might want to do is ask your child, think of some words that begin with I. We call short I icky I. Think of some words that begin with I. And they might maybe come up with the name Isabel, or maybe India, if they know where the country India. If not, you can get some pictures and words off the internet. I happen to get some here. And here we have short I words. Invitation, inch, iguana, igloo, inside. And then I added some other words I might be able to read. In, is, it. It's always a good time to emphasize the I when you're reading the word. Inch. And I like to begin with the initial consonant because they can really hear the vowel sound. And you can also take a moment just to develop their vocabulary. Talk about the ruler and find an inch on the ruler. Here we have an invitation. You can talk about what that is. And igloos are always fun to talk about, to learn about ice houses. And we have our iguana. And what, things that are inside the house, things that are outside the house, whatever you can do to encourage vocabulary development. You don't want to spend too much time, but a little bit of time. Okay. All right, so now we're going to begin blending at the beginning with short I. So you have your consonant B, B in orange, and then we have our vowel I in yellow. And remember, when we blend at the beginning, we start with the baby sound. We have our initial consonant B, and just say B. You don't need to go buh, just buh, buh. And here's your short I, and that makes the sound buh, because the baby can't say the whole word, just the beginning. So the first part of our program is to work on the baby sound. So here we have B and D and this would be F. And then maybe you could ask them, can you show me H? Or can you show me meh? Okay. Right. One important note, if they are not ready to find these letters or having difficulty, you could just give them 3 choices. Let me put this up here and say, can you make F? So they might have to have it in just a couple choices to choose from if they're not ready for all of the letters. Okay, so that's the baby sound. The next thing we're going to do is add the final consonant. So here I'm going to start with this word. All right, the word is bit. Now remember, we begin blending at the beginning with the initial consonant and following vowel sound, then we add the final consonant sound. So you could say to your child, can you read this word? And if they can, move on. If not, you would want to do the blending rhythm. The vowel is I, the baby says B, and the word is bit. And then we'll change the final consonant and say, can you change bit to big? And see if they can do that. And if not, remember, just give them a couple choices if they're having trouble finding the letter. Okay. Let's put that away. And you can put another word up. All right. See if they can read the word. All right. All right. If they can, move on. If not, do the blending rhythm. The vowel is I. The baby says fi. The word is fin. And then you can ask them, can you change fin to fit? Okay, so we've worked with the baby sound and now the final consonant. Now let's talk about word families and rhyming words. Okay. All right. This is an example of word families. And word families are rhyming words and the endings are the same. Now, of course, you can see that this blends at the end. But we want to teach the children word families and rhyming words because it helps build vocabulary, word recognition, and fluency. Okay, so let's make some rhyming words. All right, here we go. And now I'm only doing a couple of examples. There are many activities that you can do. There are many more. These are just a couple of examples. Now here we have the word bit. Now one thing you can do for each group, I'm just going to do it for this group, write the word for the child, so then at the end you can go over the words. Here we have the word bit, and remember we're making rhyming words, so we're changing the initial consonant. So you could ask them, can you change bit to fit? After you've sounded the word out with them to see if they could read it. All right. Okay. And then we have fit to hit. Okay. And let's see. And then hit to fit. And this is also a good time. Just take a second. We want these words, we want to connect meaning to these words. So every now and then just say, what is a fin? It's on a fish. What does it mean if your clothes fit or don't fit? Just little things that you can do to make sure that they're connecting meaning to the words That's important. All right, one other thing I wanted to show you. All right, these are consonant, vowel, consonant words, CVC words. And when you work with a CVC word, the vowel is always short. Now I'm going to show you a CC word. So here we have the baby sound is li. And then we have consonant, consonant. Okay, so this is a little more advanced. The vowel, see if they can read it. If not, the vowel is l, I. The vowel is I. The baby says l. The word is lift. So I've uploaded some examples of consonant, vowel, consonant, and consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant words. So you can work with different words at home. Here's another example. All right, here we have I, U, K. Okay, so here the vowel is I, the baby says mi, the word is milk. L sometimes tricky. It does distort the sound of the vowel a little bit. Okay, so you have to be careful with your L's sometimes. Help them hear that. And you can write these words. I didn't finish writing the other ones, but just go ahead as you work on the words, write them down so that they can read them later. Okay. All right. All right. All right, now let's make it a little bit harder. This time, the child's going to change either the final or the initial consonant. And we're still just working with that is sound. Okay, and again, there are many, I just gave you a couple examples. There are many activities for them to do, for you to show them. All right, so here we have, let's start again with the word hit. And then you could say to them, can you change hit to pit? See if they can do that. Remember, if they're having trouble, we always go back to that rhythm. The vowel is I, the baby says pi, the word is pit. And then pit to pin. So now we have to put on the final consonant. Okay. And now pin to win. Again with the initial consonant. So they had practice changing the final and initial consonant. And I did put some sentences here. And for example, the lid will fit the pan. So I have some short A words and short I words. And you know, actually that's one you can work on too. The lid will fit the pan. What does that mean? Always try to connect meaning the best you can. All right. Now for the last activity, we're going to work with our review with our short A. So we'll put the word up here. All right, here we have the word tip. Again, see if they can read it. If not, help them with the rhythm. All right, so you could say, can you change tip to lip? Remember, if they can't find the letter, help them by putting fewer letters together. And now we're going to change the vowel. Can you change lip to lap? So we're just reviewing the short A from last lesson, from lesson 1. And can you change lap to map? Okay. And then you could change, that works. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Here, let's try another one. Here we have, let's see, thin We've worked with Finn a lot today. Fin. And then they, of course, change that to fan. And then they could change that to tan. And then they could change that to tin. Okay. So I've gone through a lot of examples with blending at the beginning. You would take as much time as you need that the child needs to learn this. Maybe they're only at the baby sound. Maybe they're doing fine with final consonants and initial consonants, but having trouble with the, adding either initial or final consonants. So you have to find where meet them at their level and move on when they're ready. Okay. All right. So one thing I want to do next is just show you a couple activities so that you can reinforce this at home. Now, last lesson was short A. We talked about this little flip book. You can just buy a little book like this, and make and a lot of these activities, if you go back to my introduction and short A lesson, there are some other follow-up activities that you can do to reinforce this. And so you could just add, here we talked about adding the A and making some words. Here we have bad. Oops. And I had it in red or black. Here's the word bid. So you would just add I to that and see if you could. Big, bit. Let's see. And here we have A. That could turn to bat. Okay, so that's one activity. The other activity, I just had some little cups. Let's see. I for pig, A for cat, and you could just take a little puffball, just drop it in. You could ask the children some words, say, bit, is that I for pig or A for cat? And they could just throw them in, have fun with that. Another thing you could do is have some letters cut out, some pictures already cut out, and show them the pictures. Say, here's a flag. Would that go in A for cat or I for big? And they could throw the puffball in and see, and then they could keep the ones they get and count how many they get. I just thought that was a fun activity because it gives them some fun. You have little throwing things just rather than listening, some hands-on movement fun. Okay, another activity you could do is, I have some letters here, and this is I for pig. And then you could show them some other words, and anything that says I, you would put in the picture, like here's fish. But if it doesn't say I, it would go on the bottom, like flag. We would put that on the bottom, like this. Okay, so what I did is I just cut some pictures out. It's basically something you can just make at home and cut some pictures out. And if it says fish, you put it on the, if it says I, you put it on the igloo. And if it doesn't, you put it at the bottom. And the other thing you could do is, you had your short A from last week, and you could put the word, just put them next to each other, and put the short I words, go through the pictures, put the short I words on the igloo and the short A words on the apple. That's a good review. Just two little activities in me. And another thing you can do is go through this book And this is you can find there are lots and lots of phonics practice books. I do believe that after you do all the hands-on learning and play the games, that pencil and pen activities do help reinforce it. And I happen to like this from Scholastic, but there are many out there. And also, you could go through, they have lots of little pictures. You wouldn't even have to take them from, the computer or magazines. They have lots of little pictures you could just use, just cut the words off. Okay, and one more quick activity. I like this one as well. So this. Okay, these cards are called 3-letter words. It's just a little puzzle. I think I got this also at Lakeshore Learning. And they just make, here we worked with last week. And so here's the word. Put it together, you get the word hat. Kind of see there, hat. And then if you turn it over this way, it has another word. Now, we have not learned the sound, but we're still getting exposure. So I think it's a girl and it says her. But it's giving them exposure. And here's a pig. Pig. And on the back, there's a picture of a lion, and he's sad. Okay. All right, now one last thing. When you're talking about phonics, I think it's important to bring all aspects of language arts into any lesson. We want to encourage reading. We want the children to become good readers. So we want to give them as many tools that we can to help them with that. So just one quick thing. This has nothing to do with phonics, but since they learned the short I found this book Inch by Inch. And this is a fun book by Leah Leone, and this is something you could just for fun read with them. And then last lesson, lesson 1, short A, we talked about attic, and there's something in my attic, and this is another fun book by Mercer Mayer, There's Something in My Attic. Okay, let's get started with sight words. So what are sight words? Sight words are high frequency words, many of which are not decodable, and the child has to memorize them. And that's our job, to get the child to learn as many sight words as they can to increase fluency and word recognition. All right, and comprehension, which is, of course, our ultimate goal. Okay, so here's a list of the Dolch sight words. There are many sight words lists out there. This one is categorized by primer, pre-primer, primer, first reader, second grade, third grade, or first grade, second grade, third grade. And I believe that's because at one time, and I don't know if the book companies still do it, but at one time, the child started usually in first grade, they had 3 pre-primers, and the Dolch pre-primer words would be in those books. And then they moved to a primer. You'd have your pre-primer words and then start adding primer words, and then the first reader, and so on and so on. Now, and I'll upload this, but there are many sight words lists out there, so I like this as categorized, but I'll upload this for you. Okay, so there are many ways to learn sight words. Of course, we have our handy flashcards, and you can find them everywhere. I even saw some at the dollar store. And if you look on the internet, there are tons of activities to help your child learn sight words, games, and just lots of fun things to do. I happened to see 2 that I liked, and one, I like this one, because what they're doing is using dots, making little caterpillars, but the part I liked about it, if the child can write, they have good motor skills, able to write, or you can help them or write with them, that writing is an extra component to help them learn the sight words. So here we have the word big. I just said and 4. Okay. All right, another activity, here's the other activity you can do is, we did this with the phonics, and you just make some little cups. Here I have down and from. And then the child put them out, and the child can just drop a little puff or something, a macaroni or something in there. And whichever cup it lands in, they have to read the word. And I would also encourage you to have them make a sentence. We want to get all the language components involved. Okay. All right. So go back to the internet and search, because there are tons of activities. Now I want to talk to you about what I did with my kids and my students using context, because that really gets them reading, gets the reading part involved. Although you have to do the memory, then you start to put it with the words to build that word recognition, fluency, and comprehension. All right, so I bought these sheet protectors, and what I did was I took, and here's the book Inch by Inch we were talking about. And what I did is I took, when we would read it to the child, and then I took the sheet protector, and then I just took some markers, and we found like the is purple, my is orange, said is yellow, or an activity like that. And they could color the words, and that's going to help them remember, and it's also in context. Now, one important thing about reading to your child, and that's where they're going to learn those sight words too, by being read to, looking at books a lot. One thing about this is you don't always want to take every book, in my opinion, and do an activity with it. You just might want to pick up inch by inch and just read it to them, let them enjoy it, and see what reading's all about and how enjoyable reading can be. And then sometimes you can do an activity with the book. Okay. This is another activity. When we talked about language experience in my last video, I just wrote a fun story about a fall day that you might do with your child if you went outside looking at the leaves and so on. And then you could just find certain words that they're learning in the fall day story. And one thing about language experience, if they're doing their own writing, in my opinion, if they write the word said, S-E-D, you would never say, oh, that's wrong, we don't. You would just correct it and write, say, this is how said's a sight word, and it's a little different, and we write it this way. Because you don't want them getting into the habit with writing said, S-E-D, S-E-D, and that can happen. And they're congratulate them for using their phonics skills. Okay. All right, now up here I have some other work I used to do with my students to put it into context too and get them reading. And they feel proud when they're reading. And you can put these stories in a little booklet. And that's exactly what I did with my students, as we were learning more and more sight words. So for instance, I started off with this. If they were learning the word the and, well, first you would have pictures, and the car, the bus, the car and the bus. Now I used the computer for these pictures, but you can find out how, when you have to, you can draw. I'm not the best artist at all, but when I had to, I was able to draw. The tree, or I would find things I knew I could draw too. The tree, the leaf, the tree and the leaf. Okay. Now let's say you've learned the word look. This is a little more difficult. You've learned the word look, so you use the word look. Look at the table, look at the window, look at the box. I look at the box, I look at the cat. And one thing too, now of course cat isn't a sight word, it's a decodable word, so put in those decodable words too that you think they might already know or be able to sound out. Okay, this is a little bit harder. So we have, here is the apple is red, here is the leaf is red, here is the cherry is red. Now, I do like, and I always did this, I'm sure many teachers do it, start teaching those color words too, because the color words, they see the color, they learn the word, put the color with the word, and eventually they'll just pick the words up. So it's so concrete, it's right there. They can see the color, see the word. Okay. Now this is something would be a little bit harder. Here I started with an easier story with some sight words. This is a cat. The cat is orange. Look at the orange cat. The orange cat is big. A little more difficult. My little cat. So I've added more sight words in it. This is my little cat. She is orange and white. My cat likes to sit on my bed. She likes to run and play. It's fun to have a cat to play with. So we've added more sight words into this story. Okay. All right, let's talk about the older students now. With your older students, all the games and all of those activities work. As much as you can get them to read, that works too. That's our goal, get them reading, get them reading. Flashcards, get the flashcards out, work with them. One thing I did with my students is I put in the classroom words, and they were lots of sight words, could, would, all those words that writers use, I would call it. A lot of your question words, and they did rely on those words to help them with their writing if they weren't sure how it was spelled, and it helped them recognize the words too. So what you could do at home is make a little word book of some of the sight words they might be having trouble with, and I would separate them so that if you want to keep it in alphabetical order, you could put a group of words here and a group of words here, and just so on and so on. And when they need to find a word they're not sure of, they can go back to this little word, not really a dictionary, but little sight word book. And of course, remember, with all these activities, please, please, please praise your child. Little reinforcements if you see them using a sight words, like just let them know, or you use them. Remember, you see them remembering the sight words. Congratulate them. If they're using their phonics skills, tell them that was very good, how proud you are that they're getting that. All those things we like to hear as adults that they like to hear too, and I'm sure you already know that. I hope you've enjoyed my video, and if it was helpful to you and you feel that you can do this, you'd like to do this at home with your child, please like and subscribe. I plan on keeping up with this because, for one thing, I was not taught phonics. I was taught to be a word memory reader, and I would have benefited from phonics. So phonics has been like a passion with me, and that's one of the reasons I got my program started and this YouTube started. So anyway, thank you for blending at the beginning with me.